Alright, I think we're streaming. I'm not sure if I'm on the right one or not, so I'm going to have to keep my eye on to see if I'm on a good connection or okay, alright. Let's close this. Hello Carter, how we doing? I'm going to play around. We're going to work a little bit more. If you were here on the last stream that I did, I missed the last two. One of them I had at my local chapter had an all-state meeting and every member meeting, whatever you want to call it, out of town, and it was a 2-day meeting, so I went and stayed out of town 2 weekends ago. So I didn't do a stream that week, and last week I was putting up a fence around my yard, well, down one side of my yard, and so I didn't get to do a stream last week. But a few weeks ago we started out making this spatula handle, or spatula, and this is a piece of I don't know if you're going to be able to see the pattern, but this is a piece of pattern welded steel. Well, I took this one and I kind of compared it to one I made last summer out of regular steel, and you can see that I got the other one down a lot finer and much better looking. So I think I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to stretch this out, make it thinner here. I'm going to make this section up here thinner too. We're just going to work this down more. So, first things first, throw it to heat, heat her up. Now when I'm working with pattern welded, I generally won't work it down as cold as I do with mild steel. I'll try to keep my heat up a little higher. Because, I mean, if you talk to people, they say that once you get that weld made, it's one homogeneous piece. It is not. You still have two different, it's not homogeneous, you have layers. The two layers have different, you know, properties. So, we got that in, we'll heat it up. What have you been up to, Carter? Are you making anything? Been out at the forge? You can see mine's a mess. I really need to get in here and just, I need to open the door and reach in here with a backhoe and just drag everything out and start all over. Ugh. Alright, we're coming up. Grab a set of tongs. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just make it smaller and draw out that this part to start with. You can see I'm making it square so that I can draw it down and draw it out. It wasn't very hot when I took it out of the fire. So I didn't have a whole lot of forging time. Took the last post out of the ground that held my building. Oh, your forge had a building fire or something in your forge? Once I started looking at that other one, I said, man, this is way thick, way heavy. It's just too much, so we're going to work her down. Okay, grass fire took your shop off. Where are you at? Edge of the desert? You in Arizona or something? I mean, my forge is literally, this is a little small 12 by 24 building. You know, it's all insulated sheetrock and everything, but it's in my backyard. So unless my nice green lawn is going to catch on fire, I don't have to worry about it. Alright, keep going. So we're drawing it down, making it smaller. We're taking it from, it's just under 3/8, probably round, and I'll take it down to just under quarter square, and then round that up. Southern Idaho, okay. The reason I grab tongs is because normally when you're working on this and your bar starts to get hot, you'll go ahead and quench it. But because this is pattern welded and it's kind of a higher, it's 15N20, but then my other steel in it is my 15N20 is a higher nickel. The other steel is like 1084. So I don't want to quench that. You can see it's got a little haze in here. I was in a hurry trying to light my forge and kind of rushing it. It's a little smoky in here right up near the ceiling, but not horrible. You can see we're just stretching that out a little farther. Reducing the size. I don't know where I set my other one. Oh, here. Sitting right there where I was looking, couldn't find it. But yeah, so we're doing this part here. I'm reworking that down, making it a lot thinner, and then I'm going to come up and thin out a lot of this. If you look at this end here, and the end that I did on that the other day, because when I was making it, I was starting to get a little tired and I was rushing it. I didn't take the end down very fine, and it really looks like garbage. So now's the time to fix it. Set it down again. I'll kind of lay that there and compare it. For the length and the thickness, cross section of the part there. Hey Tim, how we doing? So we're playing around with that Damascus spatula. After I got done, I went in and I compared it to a different one that I made like a year ago. And this one is just a lot finer. It's not as bulky. And so I'm going to take the Damascus one and I'm going to stretch a lot of it out. I'm going to straighten out and redo some of the stuff that I've already done. Try to make it a little more dainty. So first thing I'm doing is just drawing that stem out. You can see it was round and bigger, and now I'm reducing the size and stretching it out. I mean, I kind of knew when I did it last time that it was a little too bulky. It didn't have enough length. I was getting tired. What's up, Lexi? So we're playing around. I got that pattern welded spatula that I started last time I was on. I had 2 weeks. 1 week I had a all-state meeting, 2-day meeting out of town that I went and attended. So I missed 2 weeks ago, and then last week I was busy putting the fence up. So during the summer, it's going to be kind of hit and miss. I've got a lot of projects. Next weekend, I'm going to be down in Herkimer mining for Herkimer diamonds, quartz crystals. So I probably won't be on next weekend either. Well, I know I won't. There's no probability to it. I'll be there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I think. Alright, so you see it's square and I've already drawn it out. It was about that long when I started. I'm going to look and see. And I think that I want to come up into this section here where it starts to flare, and I think I'm going to pinch off and take about another inch or so of that and put it down into that stem. And this is a spot where if I'm not doing like demos and stuff, if I'm just goofing off in the shop and the cameras aren't running or anything, I'll walk over there to the power hammer and give it a couple hits to make sure it's nice and flat and even. It takes any of the waviness out of it really well. But yeah, so next weekend, like I said, next weekend I'll be down in Herkimer County collecting, digging crystals out of the rock. What's up, Kevin? Trail Dust. And like I said, I mean, summertime's going to be pretty iffy because I got a lot of projects and I got a lot of stuff to do, and you know, a lot of times during the summer, I spend a lot of time out on my boat once the weather gets a little nicer. Today was a good day. If the boat was ready, I would have took it out, but I was doing firewood for somebody else. I'm gonna pinch off a little here. Alright, so you can see I pinched off a little bit more up in that section. Maybe I'll start rounding her up now. I think I got that smaller. It looks better than it was. I'll go ahead and round it up some, and then I'm going to flip it around. We're going to straighten out the tail on the handle. I'm going to make that a lot smaller. I might cut a little bit off. Jack who? So I got a little bit, about half the length into Jack Pines. Okay, I didn't know he was back on doing this stream. So I wish if I'd have known, I probably would have tried to tune in. Although yesterday I got pretty busy in the morning working on my deck, and then I went and helped my best friend do, move a bunch of firewood we had cut up earlier this year and blocked up. So, yeah, I'll have to go check it out. I didn't know Jack was streaming again. I mean, he had a long hiatus and he had the flood damage there and all that. I hadn't heard much from him since. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and round it up. Straighten that up a bit. So I got about that much of it rounded up. Now I'll switch and do the other end. But it's good to see that Jack's back doing it. What did he learn? That it melts faster than horseshoes. He was on for 20 minutes before he realized he was beating. Wow, yeah. And none of these guys told him that? You know, what kind of guys? Come on, guys. You know, we're struggling to try to keep these guys entertained, and you're not even doing your part of letting us know when something's wrong. Connected pretty good today. I got 0.0 drop frames. All right. This will go faster because I'm not right up next to the neck, worried about damaging it. I keep going back and straightening this and forgetting that this is pattern welded, so I don't want to work the temperature down as far. But I keep going back in that black heat, straightening it. I'm going to end up regretting it soon if I keep doing it. Especially when you get it down to smaller cross sections. We'll get that section rounded up, and then, like I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make the rest of it a lot thinner, narrower, and work it down. You were the entire chat. Well, yeah, I mean, none of us knew he was going to be back on. Has he been back on for a while, or? I haven't seen any notifications in mine for Jack Pines. Gotta stop doing that. Of course I won't stop. And then before you know it, I'll be like, oh, crack, and throw it out. Then have to start over completely. Which I can say I've done a lot of that. I mean, I've done a lot of projects where I just wasn't happy with it, to the point where I just stopped and just started over and threw it out. Alright, so now we can see I got that stretched out closer to the length that this one was. But you can see the difference. You know what? I'm going to cool just the blade end. I'm not just plunging it, I'm kind of dipping it nice and easy. So I can hold that end. And you can see the difference between the two of them handles. So this is way bulky. We're going to take a lot of that bulk out. That's what we're doing today. We're taking a lot of that bulk out of this. All right. These tongs probably aren't going to fit it well. They're not. All right, I'm going to heat that handle end up. Grab a different pair of tongs out. Yep. Alright. So I'm going to heat that handle end up. We're going to straighten the tail out on it. Then we're going to go in and we're going to make that a lot thinner, a little bit longer, narrower. But I don't think that I'm going to concave it like I did on this one. If I do, I might do it during the grinding process, because I'm going to have to grind it all smooth so that the pattern weld can show up. Alright, well, let's take this tail out. I should let this cool down. He was just getting his stuff back together. I think his shop dried out before his gators. Yeah, putting the spatula on a diet. It was too big, too bulky. I didn't care for it. Grip it with a different pair of tongs in a different spot. All right. So we're just going to work this down a little. Make it a little longer, a lot thinner. It was really bulky. Make the little hook tail piece, make that a lot smaller. Because that was just too bulky and it was square and I didn't like it. I'd rather have it round. Take another heat, and we're just working this area. You saw in the beginning it was a couple inches shorter than this one from there to there. When I get done, this will probably be a couple inches longer, which is fine. And a lot of these spatulas were longer like that, because they were doing open hearth cooking, so they were reaching into, into their fireplace and doing their cooking in the hearth. So all your utensils tended to have longer handles, so you didn't have to get as close. So we're still working it, bending it down, both directions. Like I said, I might leave it a little bit thicker, and then when I grind it to clean it up, I might grind the bevel on the front and leave the back nice and flat. Because I have to clean all the scale off of it and stuff really good before I etch it. A little bit longer. So what else is everybody else working on? I mean, Carter is working on rebuilding his shop. Jack's working on getting back into his shop. I'm going to see if my other end's cooled down enough so that I can quench it, hold it by that block. Oh yeah, I'm good. I didn't even get any steaming until it got up to like there. This is all cool. Now I can just hold it. Makes it a whole lot nicer when you can just hold it. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you got good tongs and they fit well, it's not too bad to use tongs, but if you could hold it without tongs, it's even better. Almost always. As long as you can hold it comfortably. If you're struggling because it's hot all the time, and you just don't want to use tongs, well, it's not the same. Ah. Two generators running this week for the shop, got the workbench installed, so then we go. Horizontal stuff accumulation surface, yes. All right. So you see we're just stretching that out. You remember it was quite a bit shorter than the last one. And right there is my transition lined up. And we're already almost as long as the one that's the original. Shouldn't say the original, the one I made a year ago. The original implies that it was an old one or something. I did a bunch of these a year ago, and this just happens to be one of the better ones. A bit oh, okay. I would just leave him at the airport and tell him that you were busy watching my stream. I mean, I'm just saying, I think he would understand. All I'm trying to do is get a pretty straight lines up the two sides, because I think I got about the length I want. It's fairly centered. I may end up, you know what I might do? Just give it 2 taps in the hammer here, and just flatten any high spots out of it, make it nice and even. A hanger for your lantern, okay. Yeah, I want to get, when I go to quad state, I want to make a project, like, like do a sign bracket or some kind of hanging, something like that, and with some scrolls and some rivets, and just kind of a little fancier. All doing that did was made it nice and even so that I can see better where the bumpies are. Which aren't too bad. I had it pretty even. I mean, you can see them. Doing a couple little corrections, but it's not bad. Alright, so now what I'll do is I'll start tapering that down a little bit back towards that tail, and I'll be honest with you, I'll probably end up cutting most of this tail right off. The existing tail. Because I want it to be much finer. And that's going to be a pain. I'm going to have to go in and actually clean around that with a Dremel, and that's the problem with trying to make any fine detail work with pattern welded. It's so hard. It's not. Sometimes it's harder just to clean it up than it was to make it to begin with. All right. So you can see I'm starting to taper that back down now. We might as well cut some of that tail right out of the way. But one of the other nice things, you know, it's a pain to work with the pattern welded because you got to do all that grinding and stuff. Which, it's a pain to do it, but it's also nice to have, you know, to do all the grinding so you can take some of your mistakes and stuff out. Alright, so I just chopped the end off, nothing important. Didn't, you know, I'm not doing an exact copy. I'm not worried about the length being perfect and matching the other one. This is just playing around. So I'm bringing that other edge in. Now I'll start straightening the tail out. That's going to be the hook. I'll straighten that out, draw it out longer, round it up, then position it where I want it. So I'm starting to move it. What I'm not really doing, which I should probably be doing, is I'm not tipping my hammer and driving the corner in and trying to draw more aggressively or using the corner of my anvil. Only because when it's this small, it's easy to make a mistake and go way past. So I'll take the extra heat or whatever it takes and get there eventually. Just draw it out a little bit, heat it up. Draw it out a little bit, heat it up. Luckily, when it's small like that, it heats fast. real fast. See, we're bringing it out, we're getting it down there. It's getting kind of fine, but still not long enough. So we'll go in and we'll just keep going. We try to pay attention to it so that we don't burn it off. Last time I pulled it out, it was really hot. Just drawing it out, drawing it out, drawing it out. Going nice and easy. I don't want to go past it and make a spot too thin or anything like that. So I'm just nice and gentle, nice and easy. I'd rather take an extra heat than mess it up. Alright, I think I just burnt a little bit off the end. So I burnt a little bit off the end on that one, and it wasn't in the fire very long. So that just shows you got to be careful when it gets small. Or you'll burn it right off. I think I can save it. I got material there. If not, I can come up and pinch more off. Back in. Getting it down pretty thin, so I may just pinch a little more off. I'm getting pretty thin down here, so I'm going to come back just maybe 1/4 of an inch. All I'm going to do is come back and set it back on the edge of my anvil right here and take like a 1/4 inch more and push it out that way. So I'll try to push that through my fire, keep it from burning off. Taper some 1/4 inch round to a round taper, yeah. Well, if you think that's fun, so you can see what I did there. And I just pinched some more material off. And drew it out. We'll go a little more, one more on that, and then we'll round it up. Yeah, Tim, well, I'm not going to do it right now, but I don't want to burn this up. But I actually have all the way down to 1/8 inch square and round. A few years ago, I was making these basket twist Christmas ornaments out of welding rods. Alright, so you can see I pinched off some and drew it out. I think we got enough there. We can go ahead and round this up. Then I'll kind of let this handle end cool for a minute with BS and shoot the bolt, and then I'll quench it so that I can hold the handle and forge out the blade, because that's going to be a lot of work forging out and spreading that material. Got a D-lam right there, right in that intersection. But I think that I can make it work even with it there and not even take it off. Yeah, I did the same thing. I bought him, we probably bought him off the same guy at the same time. I showed you, or you showed me, or told me about it. So we got that pretty rounded up. I'm going to round up just a little bit more right where that D-lam is, but I think I can make it work. I don't think it's going to affect much. I think actually I can make it go away by bringing it up to welding heat and just twisting it. It is so fine. See what happens. Hopefully I twisted it in the right direction as the twist in the pattern. I don't think it's going to go away, but I think I can deal with it to the point where it won't really be very noticeable at all. All right. Now I'll just kick that down. What I'm trying to do is make that flat and get rid of that little dimple and make that straight and flat. I really should sprinkle a little flux on there and see if I can't fix that, but man, it is so small. Okay, so we got some of that magic metal glue in there. Got a really dirty fire, so this ought to be interesting. So I want to hit it really fast. I don't want to hit it really hard because it's small. So I went to a real small hammer, and I wish I had I do have a smaller ball peen, but it's in my toolbox at work right now. I noticed it was there a few weeks ago and said, man, I don't need that here. I should have that at home. And, well, it's still there. But because I want to be able to do some rapid blows, but light blows, I'll be choking way up on this thing. And I have to hit it pretty good with a wire brush, but I think I got it. Like I said, I had that. I was doing a demo once, and one of the guys was folding over a layer, and he welded it back. And it was a demo on pattern welded. This was back in 2005, I think. And one of the guys now I'm looking at the angle and the geometry of my coffin handle, I guess you should call it. And going out and then cutting back in. I'm trying to get that. You can see I got that's nice and smooth along the back. I got rid of that bump that was in there. Now I can just work that around. You know, I guess there's different kinds of hammer ends because there's like bigger ones in our state, and then you got actual conferences and stuff. But in our regions in our state, you know, like different people will host meetings. So I put my little, hard to see, my little finial on there. Now I'll heat my thing up. Bring my water bucket over. Give it a quick quench on that little finial. And bend my hook around. You can see it's starting to come around, but I'm absolutely not happy with the shape, so we're going to go back. We're going to work it some more. Everything seems to be more work with the pattern welded, because if I was doing this in regular mild steel, I could keep working it a little longer, down into that lower heat. Now I got to be careful because I can't really cool that finial. got to kind of work with it. Heat it. I don't want that part where I welded it back together to separate. I mean, even split, it'd have plenty of strength to be just a hanger and hold it up. But if you can do it without it, be better. It's getting there. I'm just trying to balance it out. Sometimes it's just take that extra heat. Take the time and do it right. Or you'll get later on in the project and you won't be happy with it and you'll be like, I wish I would have done that. So many projects like that. Okay, I got it closed up, but I want to kick it back that way a little bit to center it. Because I got more to that side than that side. But we're getting there, we're close. Ha! Alright, now, okay, once I get this finished, I'll catch up on the chat. And I'll probably clean out the fire a little bit. Oh, that was hot. Again, because it's just not quite right. The only problem is it's not quite right, and I'm still trying to find out what part is not quite right. That's making me think it's not quite right. We're going to call that right there good, I think. All right, I'm going to set that there and let it cool for a minute while I clean out my fire and catch up on the chat. Okay, so sorry, bailed for dinner, but I'm back. Hold on, I gotta go back up. Alright, let's see. Where is my chat scroll bar? Okay, anyway. Paying attention to my guild meeting hammer. Sorry, Bill, for dinner, but I'm back. Waiting. I'd like to do a hammer in. Yeah, so doing a hammer in at your shop. The only reason I haven't hosted one here at my shop is because it's so small. It's hard to get a group of, a dozen blacksmiths and a 12 by 24 with, you know, a big brick forge, and, you know, there's not much room in here. It's tight for two people to work. All right, let me pull some of this out. Take a big bunch of clinker out. Get the fire stoked back up. Get some air back in. And I do have, that's a little bit out of plane. But it almost doesn't want to come back in because it's like a spring right now. Alright, let's get this fired back up. Your guild conference is a weekend before Quad State. Okay, cool. I'm sure maybe a Knife Makers Guild, or outside of maybe a Knife Makers Guild. I don't believe we had any blacksmith groups in the state. If you have any blacksmith groups in the state, go to Urbana, you know, the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America, and look and see if they have a chapter in Idaho. I'm sure they do. I think at one point, I don't know, I haven't checked it in a very long time, but they used to have a chapter in almost every state. I mean, while there ain't much in Idaho, you know, they probably had a chapter. And they probably still do have a chapter. And I'll tell you, you'll learn a lot more going to your blacksmith meetings at your local chapters than you will learning on the internet or anything like that. Because you'll have somebody to stand there and show you what you're doing wrong. Oh, okay, museum property and Rocky Mountain is roughly 4 hours south, and then there's one near Portland, which is 8 hours west. Huh. Well, like I said, I mean, for me, I'm in New York State, and the New York State Designer Blacksmiths. So in New York State, we have 5 regions. The central, around the Syracuse area of New York, which is like in the center of the state, is the Mohawk region. Then we have a southern tier region, which is down near Binghamton, Corning, and all that. Then near Rochester, you have a Genesee region, and way out on the end of the state near Buffalo, we have the Niagara region. And then the Niagara region, and then up north we have the Adirondack region. So we have different regions all throughout the state. I think when I did that twist, I actually went the wrong way, and instead of twisting it tighter and closing it up, I twisted it the other way and opened it up. And I do have a little line on one side. I'll make that the back side. It's not on the front side. yeah, I think I can deal with that. Work it in, make it happen. All right, so now we've got this big block that's like 1/4 by 1 down on the end, and we'll start spreading that out, making the little spatula part. Huh. Okay. I mean, I'm not too big on the geometry once you get away from the, I mean, I know my way all the way down from New York all the way to Florida down the East Coast, but once you get out to the Midwest and the West, not my strong suit. Alright, so now we're going to do some spreading on this. So I'll take my cross beam. I'm gonna kind of stay in the middle and take that right down before I move to the two sides. So I'll take the middle down until it's like 1/8 of an inch thick, and then I'll start working the two sides out instead of just jumping around and going back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, I'll have to clean this entire thing up. Shine it all up. And this is not a fast process. And I don't know if you can see it. I haven't hit anywhere but right in the middle. Hang on. Left is right, right is left. You can see, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to leave it out and lose too much heat. So I hope you were able to see that I'm hitting right in the center and I'm not moving out yet. Not a lot out here and not a lot of people either. Okay, yeah, I got you. Now, to be honest with you, on almost every one of these, I end up with a V in the end of this that I usually end up cutting them off to make that edge straight. Because it gets hard to push the edge back in once it's out and it's thin. You can do it, but it's a lot of work. All right. Once again, you can see it's getting thinner in the center, but I'm not going out to the edges. Not yet, not until I get the center thinned out. Now I could be thinning it too much, and that's why when I go to drag out, so maybe I'll do it less on this one than I normally do, and see if it helps with making the V on the end. Now I'm moving out a little bit farther. on each side. And we're not, it doesn't, you know, we didn't move it a ton on each heat, but we gotta keep moving it. Heat it, move it, heat it, move it. And then I gotta make sure I twist it so my handle is oriented to the same plane as the spatula. Well, it's not my fault you live in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. Jeez Louise. So I'm spreading it out. I'm getting a good spread. It's starting to. I'm kind of watching these corners to make sure they don't get out of control on me and they stay somewhat even. If they get too far out of control, you can, I mean, I'll just use this 2x72 grinder. But it wasn't untraditional to have to go in and take a. Now I'm working back and forth across it. Just spreading it little at a time. I'm kind of trying to stay away from up in here so that where that stem comes in, I'm going to leave some material there a little thicker. I guessed, I literally guessed that I was doing 1/4 by 1 and I made it a little bit bigger than this one. Or it was about the same length, but this will end up a little longer. And I think I left more material. I think that was like 1/4 by 3/4, and I got 1/4 by 1 here. But I guessed, I mean, I think that too many people worry too much about getting exact dimensions when they watch a demo instead of just making what you have work. You see now I'm starting to widen out that end. I will go back and I got a lot of thickness here. It's still 3/16 of an inch thick up on this end. Down on that end I'm getting down, I'm less than 1/8 of an inch but more than 16. I still got a lot of thickness there. But I don't want to drive in too deep in one spot and then I have to bring the entire rest of it down to that same depth or I end up with a line. I've got one up at the house. It's really nice. It's the biggest one I made. That hoop on the end is real big, real fine. But I got one strike where I struck with the cross peen and went way too deep. And then I had to flatten all the way around it, but I never got that one out because it's paper thin in that area. not getting that V that I was getting before, so that's good. Okay, and I'm going to show you another trick. Right where the stem meets the blade of the spatula, a lot of people will come in and they'll put it right there and they'll hammer it and they'll end up with a step and a thin spot. And I try to stay away from that area for that reason. But if I'm trying to draw out here, what I can do is just put this off the edge. So I can come in, put that piece off the edge right here. Now I can come in and start drawing that material out. You can see how much material I pulled out here in this one. They were almost the same. You can see how this one I pulled it out. I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on this side. Or I'll probably go right here. So they go there and work that way. And I did notice that in the traditional ones, they're not big, huge spatulas like what you're used to nowadays. A lot of them were this size, and I even saw some that were smaller than this. Alright, so now I'll come over here, hang it off. Grab some of that material, pull it out to the edge. If I get too much, I can kind of knock it back, but you can see I'm pulling that side out now like I did on this side. But I'm not getting it real thin where the stem meets the blade because I'm leaving that part right off the edge of the anvil. And on this one I left, it was 1/4 by 1 by maybe 2.5. Or around that. But it wasn't super critical. So now we're starting to widen out up here. Now I'll go down and just keep moving side to side with my cross beam and spreading it. And I'm just trying to keep it reasonably even. I am not good enough to where I can hammer it right to shape. Lots of times I have to trim a little off of a corner or one corner or the other. There's guys out there that can do this and they can do these and make them, you know, and all these fancy shapes and everything, and that's not me. I'm not that good. I'm a hobbyist blacksmith. I've never done it professionally a day of my life. So we're getting there. We're getting it thinner. And we still got a lot of material to play with, so we can adjust and move it around and pull somewhere we need it. And you got to remember too as well, this is also pattern welded steel, so when they get done you're going to have a pattern, a twisted pattern going up through here, but it's going to be really stretched out and elongated where I moved the material after I made the fillet. Yeah, I mean, I could use files. I resort way too much to the 2x72 grinder. But yes, I could do it traditionally. I could sit there and file it out. So we're just working it down, making it wider, making it thinner. I can speed it up a little bit. I can walk over there and just hit it a few times with the power hammer, take a heat. That'll flatten it right out and take any high spots out, and it'll leave you any bumps on the sides and let you know where you left too much material. So it's kind of cheating, but it's also a good way to teach yourself, because it'll show you exactly, hey look, you left too much here, and because of that it bulged out more on the side. Turn it on. Alright, so now you can, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a shiny spot right here where the hammer was hitting that tells me that that was thicker, and it's thinner here and thinner along that edge. So I still have, that's letting me know I still have a lot of material in the center. And I wasn't back near the stem. This was way out near the other end. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, I just wasn't going to say anything when you came back, Kevin. I mean, I don't know. All right, so I know I got a lot more I can thin out in the center. But you can see it's starting to get wider. I can keep working it. I still have quite a bit of thickness everywhere. But I might work just on that area right below the stem, getting that just right. If you get it right, your stem will come in to a point up in the blade, and you won't end up with a weak spot. Another way I can do it too is I can, because it's hard to do it upside down. I've done them before once with a set tool. So I suppose I can do that with a set tool. show you that way because I've done it that way. It works pretty well. I need a set tool, and then I need a hammer that isn't my good one. So I can come in, just balancing it on my thigh there. Come in, put a set tool there, right about there. Hammer down, line it back up, hammer down. I got to move it in more so that the center of it's right over that spot. All right, now that put one line in it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. You see that line on that side? Then I'll take another heat and I'll do the other side. Same thing. And then you can go in and you can use your flatter once you start getting it close. You can use your regular standard, run-of-the-mill blacksmith flatter. You come in there and really smooth out and flatten that all out, especially if you got a helper. It's really nice to help get it nice and flat and smooth and even. Some people bash on the flatter, but like somehow it's cheating or it's a lack of skill. I watched a guy do this, and this part that I'm doing right now, he literally did right here on his anvil, and it come out looking perfect. So, but he's a full-time blacksmith for 40 years, 8 hours a day. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see this point and see what I'm talking about. So where it comes down in, the thickness comes in and then it tapers down to way out here in the middle of that blade, not right at the very end. Yeah, you can kind of see that point. And then it's raised up. Alright. But that also, when I was using that set hammer, it showed me where I had a spot that had a lot of thickness too, still. So I'm going to go back and hit it a couple more times in that area and thin it out some more. I hate this coal. It absolutely sucks. Clean the fire and 15 minutes later you got a ton of clinker. Alright, we're getting there. Alright, we're getting there. We got that. That is well defined right now. Even if you can't see it, well, yeah, I guess you can see it if I hold it up like this. If I can get just the right angle. You see that point is what I'm talking about. And it's raised up, so that you don't have that thin spot right there where it transitions from the stem into the blade. Now I'm going to work on just making it a little bit flatter, smoother. And I'm going to do it right at the power hammer. And if you're using a power hammer, your flatter just looks like this. Last year, what was a forge shape? Oh, hold on, wait. I'm missing a whole bunch. We will have our meeting. Okay, our hammer in this weekend. There will be 5 forges available. Last year, 3 guys brought their own forges. Okay, yeah, cool. We will have our meeting potluck. Sometimes in the afternoon, there will be blind forging competition. So now I'm going to come in and just flatter out a little bit. So I hit that with a flatter just to do it up. It's hard to see, but I still got some thickness here, and I've got a concave there, so I'm going to push some material out that way. And when I do that, I'll probably actually flip it and kind of pull it towards me, just using the hammer and kind of tipping it a little bit so that corner there is digging in and pulling the material back. Hold on, there's 4 down in the block. Yeah, I saw somebody did that recently. They had a blind forging thing competition on one of the like I said, right now I'm just trying to draw some of that material out, making this line straight now. Okay, so I'm coming off, I'm relatively even on both sides. One side is a little longer than the other, so I'm going to pull some material on the shorter side and try to even them out lengthwise. And I'm just doing that by just tipping my hammer a little bit and pushing the material in one direction or another. Of course, I'm heating the wrong side. And then this is going to be pretty close. Like I said, traditionally, the spatulas weren't these big, huge spatulas that you have nowadays. They were pretty small. I mean, I saw one that was a traditional old one in the museum that I took a class at, and that thing had to have been a 2-inch square. So I'm sorry if you can't see because my arm's in the way. But I'm just trying to drag that corner out. And like I said, I got a lot of material still. But I'm pretty happy with the size of it. Now it's just going to be file, or in my case, the 2x72, making it the right shape. And I'll go in and, you know, take the top and make both them the same and make the tapers nice and straight. Although they're not horrible right now. Alright, let me pull some more material down there. If I get over here. Cool, because I can kind of see the pattern in this already. You can see I dragged it out, and now I'm almost up as far as the other side. But I am thinner on that side, so I'll probably stop there, and that'll be usable. So now all I got to do really, I have to heat up the stem. Straighten it, put it dead in line with the stem. I have to do a little bit of a twist to get the blade and the handle at the right angle, and then put my little bend in it. And like I said, right now it's to the point where I can grind it. It'll be good. And then I got a whole bunch of cleaning to do. Kind of actually curious what would happen if I took it to work and stuck it in the shop glass machine. Use that to clean a lot of it. To scale off how much actual sanding I'd have to do to get a good pattern. So now I'm just clamping it in the vise so that I can see really well down the center, and tipping it to whichever side I have to tip it to make it in line with the handle. I'm going to heat it up a little more and go a little bit more because I want it like about here, and right now it's not very far off, but it's not where I want it yet. Yeah, I sometimes I get in the way, and you know, I work all over my anvil. I mean, if it's more comfortable for me to get over here and pull it that way, I'll pull it that way. If I get here and hammer that way, it all depends. But you got all them edges, use them. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Now you can see right now my handle's flat, my blade is crooked, so I got to put a twist in it. And yes, this does actually affect your pattern if you're putting a little more twist in that area or taking a little out, because I'm not going to necessarily go the way that the pattern was twisted. I'm going to go whichever way's closer. And I think in this case, it's going to be taking a little bit of the twist that I put it in out. But it is what it is. So I just clamp that in the vise, grab it, give it a little twist, get it right in line where I want it. Now this part here, what I'm doing is using the vise to straighten that stem out. The only problem is if there's no heat there, this springs right back. Alright, so I got that little triangular piece to the top. And to put this bend in here, I'll make sure I got the triangular piece to the top. Then I'll clamp it in the vise and hammer it. So just like my anvil, my vise moves relatively easily. It's welded to a block of 2-inch solid steel that's about 2 foot square. So it's pretty heavy. Then I'll clamp the end in right there. Make sure I'm doing it right. I'm going to come in. Put the bend in. I'm going to take a little bit of the bend out. I think a little bit more. Yeah, I think I like that. You can get in there, but your hand is up and far enough away. Could spread that and make it a little bit bigger, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna call that ready for file work if you were filing it, or ready for, in this case, it might be ready for shot blast. I might put it in a shot blast machine and blast all that stuff off of it. Let's see if it gets it relatively smooth enough. So I've been kind of playing around because I like to do different things and pattern weld it. I don't want to just do knives. Okay, yeah. But, okay, where are we at? I don't know what stock they started with, but it ended up square, tapered on both ends, and bent around on the corner. First thing that came to my mind was the piece Roy challenged people to make a while back. You really had to think about how to move metal as pieces were different thicknesses and orientation. Huh. Yeah. Well, like I said here, I like doing things out of, you know, pattern welded steel. And, you know, for reference, that one's a little longer, but it's almost the same size as far as the width. Once it's cleaned up and it looks a little more like that with nice even corners here and here and straight along the edge and both the sides, it'll be pretty decent. It'll lose a little bit of size, but it won't be too bad. I mean, I got a hollow spot right here that if I wanted, I could go in, heat that up, and pull some more material back. I think I'm going to live with it. And then I'll see if I can't get this done before my next live stream. Next weekend, I am not doing a live stream. I'm going to be in Herkimer County, New York. I'm going to be doing mining for Herkimer diamonds, which are actually doubly terminated quartz crystals. But they come out of the ground with facets on them and, you know, look like they're already cut, you know, stones. No, I made the piece of pattern welded. I mean, here's another one. When I made that piece, I had a friend over here, and he was trying his first piece of pattern weld, and he got a few layers in. I mean, these are, I think, 15 layers, and you do a 4-fold, and that'll give you 60 right there, 60 layers, and then we'll probably weld that together, straighten it out. You can see he didn't get his cuts in exactly the right spots, and you know, you got longer ones and shorter ones. But it'll work because you'll end up just cutting off the ends and then drawing it out. But no, I make my own. The steels I use, I work in a foundry. I work in an iron foundry, so one of the machines in the iron foundry uses flat springs. And they're, God, I don't know if I got one where I can reach it right now. They're about 3 inches wide or so. And grab down 2 pieces. That's alright, I'm just kind of out of frame, grabbing a piece on a hook that's up on the wall that's behind my cutting table, so I have a hard time reaching it. Alright, so the machine uses these springs, they're flat springs. And they're, I don't know, 2 3/4 inch wide or so. And they got 2 holes, and then this end would have had 2 holes too, except that that's where it broke off. So I'll cut off and throw away a little bit, but I'm not too worried about little tiny cracks in it, micro fractures or whatever, because I'm going to take it up to welding heat and weld it all together when I make the billet anyway. But I put these in a spectrometer at work. Cut off a piece of it and put it in a spectrometer at work and tested it, and it come up as like 1080. And so I used that for my high carbon, and then for my 15N20 I'm using Udahome saw blades, and this is just a big saw blade with teeth on both sides. One of the guys showed up at one of our meets. He got these saw blades off of a sawmill. They're like big 30 or 40 foot long blades, you know, band mill. And then when they sharpen them, and once they get to a certain point they can't sharpen them anymore, then they throw them out. And when they throw them out, he goes and he picks them up. He showed up at one of the meetings and he had like 3 foot long pieces, and I bought, you know, he probably had a couple dozen 3 foot long pieces, and I bought every one he had out of his truck because he was selling them for like $5 a chunk. And I was like, give me all of them. So between those two, that's the 2 materials that I use. And I don't know, I mean, when I make pattern welded, they work good, it comes out good. I don't know, you know, like I said, I tested 1 spring on the spectrometer, so you know, I'm hoping that all the rest of the springs are the same alloy, but they probably are the same or close because they're all coming from the same manufacturer. But yeah, I just like to make different stuff out of pattern weld, stuff that people normally wouldn't make out of pattern weld. So, you know, everybody makes knives and stuff, but I've been known to make hammers and different things. Like, we'll have to see if you can see it in the camera, but that's a raindrop pattern Swedish cross peen hammer. Now let's see, I gotta have something else here. But just going and looking at the pictures that are on my phone, like, here's a good example. Here's a picture frame that I made. And if I zoom in on the picture frame, the whole thing was made out of raindrop Damascus. Or raindrop pattern, well, like it, you know, if you say Damascus, you always get that one guy that's like, well, Damascus was really wrought iron and, you know, wood steel, and, you know, what you're making isn't Damascus, it's pattern welded, but whatever, you know. It's like saying a Kleenex instead of tissue paper or whatever. But there's another hammer with a, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. It's a mosaic pattern. But yeah, I mean, I've made weird stuff. Trammel hooks. I've made, you know, picture frames, hammers, different tools. I made one of these soapstone holders once out of pattern weld. Trying to think of what else I've made, but I can't remember right now. But yeah, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up. Everything else on that is going to be done with, you know, the belt sander. Or like I said, I might try putting it in the shop blast machine at work and see, it'll knock all the scale off, which would be, you know, a big part of it. But it may, if it leaves a smooth enough finish that I can go in and etch, that'd be great. Because I've got all this stuff that's weird shapes and stuff, so, you know, I'm kind of looking for a different way to do it other than sit there and grind everything perfectly, you know, with sandpaper. Or, you know, I thought about doing a tumbler, putting them in with a bunch of really small stones and letting it tumble in either a rotary or a vibratory tumbler, or just to be able to do it more efficiently and, well, easier. Because once you get outside of just regular flat shapes, then it becomes more difficult. And this one, probably when I get done, like the other one, I'm going to give to somebody and they're probably going to use it, you know, and that's cool. But this one will probably be, because it's pattern welded, when I get done you're going to see the pattern all the way through it. So this one will probably be more of just a display piece. And I might play around and bring this out and tuck that edge in and then bring it, you know, and give it that weird looking shape. I don't know yet. Yeah, tumble with sand. You know, sometimes though trail dust, the sand is just so fine that it doesn't clean. I mean, you'd have to tumble literally for years, you know. I used to tumble a lot of stones. And, you know, if I was going to tumble, I would probably tumble with a, like an aluminum oxide, and just go with a straight 80 grit aluminum oxide abrasive, and then use small stones that'll put a little more pressure against the piece that you're using, and the aluminum oxide will get squished in between your work and the little stones. And I've had really good luck with tumbling stones. If they got any concave spots or anything, the smaller stones will get in there and kind of rub up against them and rub the aluminum oxide. But I was playing around with tumbling stones, and I could get them up to a real shiny finish. And everybody else was going with silica carbide and going through different grits, the progression. And what I was doing was I was just putting them in with ungraded raw silicone carbide and leaving it right in there, just leaving it in there and let it run longer. And as it ran, the longer it ran, the finer the grit became. I'd run it through the ungraded silica carbide. Most of the pieces were nice and rounded after a month and a half. And then I'd pull it out of that and I'd put in just 80 grit aluminum oxide instead of silicon carbide, because the silicon carbide, as it breaks down, it stays sharp corners. It just keeps breaking up and has sharp corners. The silicon carbide, or the aluminum oxide, the corners will round off and it just gets duller. So I was able to throw it in with like 80 grit, come right out of my rough, coarse shaping grit, and go straight into the polish. I would do it with the 80 grit, and I would just leave it in there instead of. But I was doing my polishing in a vibratory tumbler, in a UV10 vibratory tumbler, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, after 2 days, go to the next finer grit." After 2 days, and I just throw them in with the AO 80 instead of the silicon carbide 80, and just let it run for like a week and a half, and then I'd pull them out and they'd be glass. Yeah, I still have the frame of it. I kind of took it apart and scavenged some parts out of it, but I had a homemade tumbler that ran 10-inch PVC barrels that were about 18 inches long, and I ran 4 of them on the homemade tumbler at a time. So I could tumble about 60 to 80 pounds of rocks at once. And that would, get them all round, and because your rotary tumbler will help round them. Vibratory tumbler will make them nice and smooth, but if they got sharp corners and stuff, it won't take them out. I mean, it'll knock the very corner off, but it won't round it. Yeah, I spent a lot of time tumbling back in the day. It was just a fun little wintertime hobby that I had. But yeah, I'll play around with this and then get it cleaned up, and then we'll get her etched up, and we'll stain her in some coffee and see what she looks like. So I'm going to go, guys. Calling it a night. Gonna go get something to eat. Let this fire go out. Have a good one. Like I said, I won't be here next weekend. So maybe the weekend after, I don't know. It's going to be tough during the summer. I got so many projects I want to do between projects, and during the summer I like going out on the weekends on the boat. So if I make it back before 6, I may do a live stream, but don't count on them. Not during the summer.